Chapter 7. Kidnapped. York and I were a double show. Indians would come to camp just to see us. York was black, like me, and the Indians had never seen a black man before. They would rub York's skin to see if the color was painted on. They liked his curly hair, too. They thought he was somehow magical. York loved it. He would dance around and act crazy as though he did have great magic. The Indians were just as interested in me. Lewis let me do tricks. Some Indians thought I was a miniature bear that Lewis had tamed. Others realized that I was a dog. Most thought that I had great magic. I have to admit that York and I were pretty convincing. I got along well with the Indians, especially the Mandans, the Shoshones, and the Nez Perce. They were friendly and helped us a lot. The Clatsop Indians were different. My men didn't seem to like them too much. I could tell by the way they acted when we were in Clatsop territory. Their bodies were stiff, and their heads were raised slightly. Their voices sound tense. The Clatsop Indians would come around the camp. And then, next thing I knew, the men were hollering about something missing. It seemed the Clatsops were stealing our things. Lewis posted double guards around the camp and the boats. Most of the time, the men did not try to get back the things the Indians took. Lewis said it wasn't worth starting an Indian fight over. Then one day, the Indians stole something that was worth fighting over. They stole a member of our party. Me. I was outside the camp sniffing after a squirrel when the first Indian appeared. I smelled him before I saw him, but I didn't think anything of it. The Indian came closer, and he spoke in a friendly voice. Then I noticed two more. They moved like dark shadows blending in with the trees. Even that didn't make me suspicious. Indians would often sneak around hunting some prey. I guess they weren't hunting prey because they came over to me. The first Indian scratched my neck, and he spoke softly. I had no idea what he was saying. The second Indian stepped forward. I thought he was going to scratch me too, but instead, he slipped a rope around my neck. I jerked my head. I had not had a rope since my days on the dock. I glared at that Indian. I jerked my head again. The rope pulled tighter. The third Indian dipped his hand into his pouch and pulled out a piece of meat. Beaver. I love beaver. I stepped forward and took the meat. I swallowed it in one bite. It was delicious. I seemed to have grown more fond of beaver since my leg was cut. The Indians tugged on the rope and beckoned for me to come. Something about this wasn't right, and I stood fast. Another piece of beaver. I went. I trotted along behind the Indians. They were moving a little faster than I wanted, but I was used to Lewis's fast pace, so it wasn't a problem. Some noise grew behind us. I couldn't tell exactly what it was. The Indians stopped and crouched down around me. I felt some tensions in their bodies that I felt in my men when the bears growl at night. The Indians whispered nervously. This should have alerted me that they were up to no good, but the third Indian was right beside me, and the smell of beaver was strong from his pouch. More noise behind us, voices, familiar. The Indians ran. The rope pulled tighter, which I didn't like, but I followed. I turned my ears to hear what was behind us that was upsetting the Indians. Men's voices. My men's voices. They sounded upset. Then I realized these Indians were taking me, and my men didn't like it. I stopped immediately, and the rope jerked out of the Indian's hand. He turned and looked surprised. He picked up the rope and pulled. I didn't budge. He yelled to his friends. One of them grabbed the rope. Together they pulled. I stood my ground. More yelling came from my men, who were getting closer. The Indians gave a final tug. Nothing. The Indians stared at me, and I stared back. They quickly dropped the rope and ran. Goodbye, Indians. Goodbye, Beaver. My men were glad to see me. They scratched me, and they hugged me. All the way back to the camp, they grumbled about the Clatsops. Lewis was especially glad to see me. It was almost as though he thought I wasn't coming back. Lewis did not need to worry. Those Clatsop Indians were sneaky, but not sneaky enough to separate us. 3 of this same tribe of villains stole my dog this evening and took him towards their village. I was shortly afterwards informed of this, and sent 3 men in pursuit of the thieves with orders, if they made the least resistance or difficulty in surrendering the dog, to fire on them. They overtook these fellows, and Rather came within sight of them. The Indians, discovering the party was in pursuit of them, left the dog and fled.